contribute to the historical record. Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great evil rarely announces itself all at once. It advances step by step, normalized, formalized, and excused, until conscious itself is numbed. Before there were gas chambers, there were broken windows. Before Auschwitz, there was Kristallnacht. And before the violence, there was theft. Legalized theft, bureaucratized theft, theft dressed up as commerce and neutrality. In present-day terms, $400 billion to $550 billion was stolen from the Jewish people. As persecution deepened, Jewish families sought refuge in Swiss banks, believing in the promise of neutrality. That refuge proved illusory. That promise proved hollow. Accounts vanished, records dissolved. Then came the cattle cars, bound for camps with no return. Economic annihilation was the prerequisite. Mass extermination was the goal. And in the end, the step-by-step normalization of theft, silence, and complicity culminated in the Holocaust. The systematic murder of more than 6 million Jewish men, women, and children. But the crime did not end with the war. For the survivors who returned, what awaited them was appalling. Swiss banks, including predecessors of Credit Suisse, refused to return stolen assets, allowing billions to simply disappear. After decades of delay, a settlement was reached in the 1990s, meant to bring truth, restitution, and closure. But later investigations revealed that vast numbers of Nazi-linked accounts and records had been withheld, allowing billions in victims' assets to remain concealed. And now we confront something even more disturbing. UBS, the successor to Credit Suisse, has gone to court not to disclose what was concealed, but to seek an order that would silence discussion of these crimes by Jewish organizations demanding accountability. That is not closure. It is the continuation of the wrongdoing, this time through the courts. Ms. Levi, in relation to the ongoing investigation into Credit Suisse's role in the Holocaust, your team has met with the Senate Judiciary staff numerous times, is that correct?
That's correct, Senator.
And UBS has represented to Senate Judiciary staff that it will be cooperative.
That's correct.
UBS has also represented to Senate Judiciary staff that it will not sue the Simon Wiesenthal Center for investigating Nazi crimes. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have no intention to sue the Simon Wiesenthal Center.
Yet as you sit here today, UBS has a motion pending before federal court in New York seeking to enjoin the Simon Wiesenthal Center and over a dozen other Jewish organizations in America from ever researching, speaking, or publishing any content related to, quote, the Holocaust, World War II, and its prelude and aftermath, victims or targets of Nazi persecution, and transactions with or actions of the Nazi regime. Is that actually correct?
Senator, We responded to an invitation from Judge Corman, and that order is a clarification of the same words that are in the settlement agreement of 1999. That is what we've asked. Simple clarification of the 1999 settlement agreement. Does not extend, is nothing new.
Did you or your office draft the proposed order accompanying that motion that seeks to legally silence 17 major Jewish organizations?
Senator, this is not to silent organization. This is a clarification of a settlement agreement that was signed by the same organization in 1999. And yes, I have reviewed that order.
And did you authorize your attorneys at Gibson, Dunn, and Mayor Brown to request the order from the judge?
That, as I said, is a clarification of the 1999 settlement agreement to bring to an end the dispute. And actually, we wanted to do it before this hearing, exactly for the scope of the privileged document. If that order would have been issued by Judge Coleman before this hearing, we would have been standing here to say that the privileged documents that have been the issue with the investigation of Mr. Barowski, we could have provided access.
Does it not strike you as bizarre that UBS has expressed its commitment to pursuing the truth, but is actively seeking court orders to silence it?
We are not seeking court order to silence. We wanted to solve the dispute.
Do you want the court to sign this order?
Yes.
So you are seeking the order?
We are seeking the order, but the order is just a clarification of a settlement agreement that was signed by the various Jewish organizations, including the Simon Wiesenthal Center, does not extend at all what was already agreed by the same organization.
So they were silenced already, so they should be silenced going forward. Mr. Borowski, what is your view on the proposed order, and how would its potential issuance affect your ongoing investigation into Credit Suisse's ties to the Nazi Party?
I am concerned about the breadth of the order, that it could potentially inhibit or prevent Simon Wiesenthal Center from continuing to provide information and being a gateway for information relevant to this investigation. And let me be clear why I say that. This episode in front of Judge Corman was initiated in March of 2023, a letter written by Gibson Dunn, in which it laid out a series of lies, like lie top on top of lie on top of lie, where it accused me and the Simon Wiesenthal Center of entering into some sort of conspiracy by which Simon Wiesenthal Center made statements to me that were then reflected in one of my reports. And that's what started all of this. And let me be very clear how it came to be that I was getting information from from the Simon Wiesenthal Center. Credit Suisse hired me in part to solicit information from the Simon Wiesenthal Center. They were having a dispute. They weren't talking to one another. Credit Suisse very much wanted to get access to the information that Simon Wiesenthal Center had about the investigation into the bank's Nazi ties, but the Simon Wiesenthal Center didn't trust the bank. So they brought me in as independent ombudsperson and asked me if I could get that information. And to be very clear, the idea was I would get that information, include it in what would be a public report. And sometime in 2021, late summer, when I was having those negotiations with the Simon Wiesenthal Center, Credit Suisse asked me to meet with one of the signatories to this letter, Mark Cohen, who's at Mayor Brown. And they asked me to have a conversation with him because Mr. Cohen wanted at that time to go to Judge Corman to try to shut down the Simon Wiesenthal Center's speech around these issues. And I had that meeting with him, and I said to him, you can't do both. It's your choice, it's your bank, your client. But if you go to Judge Corman to muzzle the Simon Wiesenthal Center, you can't possibly ask me to continue to engage in conversations with them in order to get them to give information to me, which I will be including in a public report. And at the end of those conversations, I was informed that Mr. Cohen had agreed with me, that they decided that they were not going to go to Judge Corman, that instead they were going to continue to pursue the effort to find the confidential information that the Simon Wiesenthal Center had developed about Credit Suisse's ties to the Nazis so I could investigate them and include them in my final report. So fast forward, Now there's a legal claim that's being made by the same lawyers who had made that decision, saying that Simon Wiesenthal Swenner's communications to me were violations of that settlement agreement. So I am worried. I need the Simon Wiesenthal Center to continue to broker our conversations with the Argentinian government to potentially get access to those archives, and any other information that they uncover, as they have been since I've started this matter. And I'm worried that if this order is signed, it's going to inhibit them from doing so, lest they get on the wrong side of Judge Corman.
Remarkable. With the chairman's indulgence, if I could ask one more question. Ms. Levy, has UBS conducted any review or audit, historical or forensic, to determine whether its vaults, custody services, or financing arrangements ever involved art looted from Jewish families during the Holocaust?
I will need to take that back.
Okay, well, I would ask that you answer that question in writing. We will submit it to you in writing, and I would ask that you answer it in writing, and we will have a series of questions on that topic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, everybody, for attending this hearing. Thanks for our panel. Our meeting is adjourned.